First, let's take a look at the massive list of discontinued models that has been floating around. This list seems to have first appeared on pistolforums.com, and it claims the email has been sent by one of the largest distributors. The forum post lists 100 different Glock models that are getting the axe. If this list is correct and accurate, it signals a massive change in Glock's production lineup. No word at the time of this recording from Glock if this is official, but if this list shakes out as real, then we are looking at a massive change in Glock's production lineup. The massive list of rumored discontinued models breaks down like this. With the most models discontinued is the Glock 22, with 14 different models. 8 of those are Gen 5, and 4 of them are MOS models. The Glock 23 has 10 different models listed, with 8 Gen 5 models and 4 MOS. The Glock 34 sees 8 different models listed, half of those are Gen 5 and MOS models. The Glock 17 has 8 models listed as well, with 6 Gen 5 models and 2 17L models. The Glock 19 sees 6 entries with 4 Gen 5 models. The Glock 27 has 5 different entries with 2 Gen 5 models. The Glock 43 also has 5 different models listed. The Glock 31 also has 5 models, with 2 Gen 4 models being listed for discontinuation. The Glock 32 and the Glock 40 both see 4 different models listed. The Glock 32 has 2 Gen 4 models being discontinued, and the Glock 40, all Gen 4 models that are listed as discontinued, have MOS on them as well. For the Glock 41, there are 4 models listed as well. All of them are Gen 4, with 2 of those being MOS. The Glock 45 sees 4 different models being listed as discontinued as well. The Glock 26 has 3 different models, 2 of which are Gen 5 models slated for discontinuation. The Glock 29 has 3 different models listed. 1 is a Gen 5 model and 2 are SF models. The Glock 33 has 3 models on the list. The Glock 21 SF has 2 models on the list. The Glock 35, 36, and 37 all have 2 models as well, with the 37 having 1 Gen 4 model being listed. The Glock 49 has both of its models being listed, and both of them are MOS. The Glock 30 Gen 5, the Glock 38, the Glock 39, and the 42 all have 1 model being listed. While no official statement has been released at the time of this recording, Glock's official website does list a number of currently discontinued models. The G20 Gen 4 and SF, the G29 Gen 4 and SF as well, the G40 Gen 4 MOS, the G21 Gen 4 and SF, the G30 Gen 4 S and SF, the G36, the G41 Gen 4 and Gen 4 MOS, the G37, 38, and 39 all in 45G AP, the G28, the G31, and 31 Gen 4 are listed on there as well, the G32 and G32 Gen 4, and finally the G33 and G33 Gen 4 are all listed as officially discontinued by Glock. So this does mean that the 357 SIG and 45G AP models are all listed as officially discontinued by Glock, and currently you cannot find any active listings for them on their website. And combined with the list from this post, it looks like Glock is cutting down on the number of models that it's producing. But this begs the question, are they going to replace it with anything? I actually think so, and I think the Glock Gen 6 is right around the corner, and what's more, I think I know what it will look like. On February 27th and on March 1st of this year, Daniel Waters posted 2 patents from Glock for their handgun designs. Huge hat tip to him for digging up these patents. The first design allows for the user to disassemble the pistol without having to pull the trigger. This would be a big design change for them, as Glocks have always needed that trigger pull to disassemble them. But why change now? Well, it's probably going to boil down to chasing military or police contracts. Glock probably has received notice that the requirements for such government contracts are going to be changing, and this redesign is in response to that. The fact of the matter is, most military or police are not going to be huge gun guys. Training regularly and making them more desktop proof is something that would benefit the end user, especially if the majority of their time training with a pistol is an annual qualification. Now, training can get around this particular issue of a trigger pull, but you need your people to be paying attention to that training. So for Glock to make this change, and for government and law enforcement agencies to be requiring something like this in order for Glock to be able to get these patents, does make sense. But to get back to the patent itself, I'd be very surprised if this was not part of the upcoming Gen 6 model, as it would make little sense to keep not only the Gen 3s, but the Gen 4s and the Gen 5s all in some kind of production at the same time when you have an upgrade like this in major production for government contracts. However, this is not the only patent that Daniel Waters dug up. The second patent was for a modular grip system that allowed for a change in the grip length from full size to subcompact sizes. With this, they could introduce features to compete with handguns like the P320, Ruger RXM, and other more modular designs, letting you swap a single gun from full size to subcompact. I do note that this does not mean Glock is moving to an FCU type of handgun. The patents describe a system that would be more akin to cutting down a standard Glock frame and modifying it so a grip of a longer or shorter length could be attached to it instead. So this probably rules out a Glock Raider type of chassis. However, this does open up some possibilities for both Glock and shooters alike. On Glock's side, they can produce frames, barrels, and slides, and then pair it with any length of grip. This could even allow for other changes to accommodate shooters' preferences. I could see magwells being added, or maybe even grip angles being slightly altered for a more American grip angle using this system. Depending on what kinds of materials that are being used in the attachment area, we might even see weighted grips for more competition-orientated shooters, finger grooves, colors, and more. This does open up a lot of possibilities for clever aftermarket attachments to modify and change up things, so even more custom Gucci Glocks are on the horizon. And this may even mean that Glock is not fully killing the 357 SIG or the 45 GAP, but making them into upgrade kit only options. Something similar might be happening for the 40 Smith & Wesson guns that we see on the list as well. For better or worse, it really does look like handguns are all standardizing around the 9mm cartridge for general use. Well, we shall see. Either way, this will be yet another aftermarket opportunity for Glock accessory manufacturers. This could also give Glock some financial incentive as well, since I could see them getting better margins on the grips or caliber change kits by themselves, versus selling a whole new gun. But I have no idea what Glock's material costs are going to look like. However, I'd be very surprised if one of their bean counters has or is in the process of figuring out a way to squeeze a good profit margin out of this system. I could easily see this turning into a case where the most popular models are readily available and more niche options like 357 SIG models end up being only available as caliber conversion kits. Now, the patents don't show this, but if we go back to the post that was originally posted on pistolforum.com, the original author does state that the COA will be standard on most models. Honestly, I think this is very likely, as red dot sights are becoming standard on just about everything, and a plain Jane Glock 19 does feel like it's missing some features that are becoming industry standard. And with the COA system, if Glock can get more manufacturers on board, and I'm sure they can, we'll probably see more options beyond the aim point that is currently paired with the COA Glocks. So, to summarize, what are we looking at for Glock's possible 6th generation? A new disassembly system that does not require a trigger pull, a more modular design that lets you move from duty to subcompact size grips, and the COA optics mounting system becoming standard. This combination of features would put it more in line with what, until recently, was the very well-respected P320. But when might we see the Glock Gen 6 be announced? Well, we have one last bit of information that we can go over with in the post. The post says that the Gen 6 announcement will be coming at the annual NRA meeting as a likely possibility. Now, from a marketing standpoint, that would make sense for such a big shakeup in Glock's lineup. To be honest, SHOT Show is crowded. Literally everyone and their grandmother is announcing or showing off a product. So for a business that wants to maximize coverage for a major change in their products, this does make sense. A major firearms industry event where your product has more room to breathe in the news cycle and you can stand alone as a major player in the firearms industry. As an aside for smaller manufacturers, this is a balancing act. You don't want your announcement to be drowned out by others in the market, but you do also want to maximize your chances of getting the eyes and attention that you need to be successful. For my gamer viewers, this is analogous to how Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo have been doing their own major gaming events and announcements, timed not with the major E3 event, but on their own schedule where they can dominate the industry and fan news cycle. A smart play if you have enough brand recognition to carry your news coverage on that brand recognition alone. Now, only time will tell if these predictions hold out, and while I think I'm on sound logic, there's always the possibility that I'm incorrect, as we are working off of rumors and a little known patents here, so only time will tell.